Ben Volan's going to join us from the Boston Globe. He tweeted out, because Adam Schefter had tweeted out the Jalen Ramsey news last night that it seemed like it was meniscus or something. I'll read you what David Furones wrote in the Sun Sentinel, but Ben Volan wrote, nothing good happens at camp. And it's probably, you being a former player, you probably can attest to that. Again, if you're a bubble guy, it's probably a little bit different. Camp is everything. But for, the Jalen Ramseys and, like you said, when it was JT and Junior, and I mean, just nothing good can happen at camp.
They used to give JT hell for wearing tennis shoes instead of cleats, but he was healthy when the season started. Hawk, compete. I'm a 6-time Pro Bowler. You know I can compete. Let me get out of camp healthy. It's terrible. We talked about Joe Burrow yesterday. Like, you're going to get hurt in football. It's 100% injury rate when you play football at a high level, but you hate to see a guy go down. They're talking about he's not. I heard middle of November, early December.
I mean, you're talking about the season at that point, really, like close to it.
That's what it is. And knowing you had 2 lockdown corners on the outside, right now, Vic Fangio has to redo his playbook. The approach to the defense has to be totally different. Now you have to implement, it better not be Noah Igbenogany. I know that much.
Might be.
Kader Kohu, whoever it is that has to step in, not bad-mouthing them. I'm not going to go extreme, say they can't tie his shoes. But there is a gigantic drop-off between Jalen Ramsey and anyone else on this roster.
Yeah, Kader Kohu, like, he's been good and he's shown flashes. But yeah, to go, Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey is equivalent to Xavier Howard and Kader Kohu. It's folly. It's a gut punch. It's a gut punch for the Dolphins D, for Vic Fangio, for Mike McDaniel, for Dolphins fans, obviously for Jalen Ramsey. Like, this is a gut punch.
We're just a lot of news coming out about the Jets. I guess Dalvin Cook is visiting them this weekend, which would be terrible for the Dolphins. But to get to Aaron Rodgers looks left and sees Jalen Ramsey. He's a little nervous. Looks right, sees X. He's a little nervous. Then he looks back left and sees Kader Kohu, Noah Igbenogany, Nick Needham, anybody else. He's looking at them as pie. He's not respecting their ability to play football. Not saying they're bad. It's just not the respect from a quarterback when he has a one-on-one out there.
Well, we'll talk about it today. Nothing we could do about it. I believe he went. This is what David Furones wrote in the Sun Sentinel. So I believe Jalen Ramsey has already been through surgery, at least if it was conducted as scheduled. Furones wrote this in the Sun Sentinel this morning. Miami Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel said Friday morning that the left knee injury Jalen Ramsey suffered yesterday involved the meniscus, and he'll have surgery at 1 p.m. Friday. So that was about an hour ago. McDaniel added there are 2 possible outcomes to come from surgery, with a return before the start of the season out of the equation. A report from NFL Network Thursday evening said Ramsey could be in for an early season return, but the more likely result of surgery would be a recovery timeline that lasts into December. So,
yeah.
Furones writes, the good news from the update is that Ramsey's ACL remains intact. A tear to the ACL would have cost him his first season here with the franchise. So if it's just meniscus and, again, you try to look at a bright side, but I mean, to know pretty much that he's going to be out till maybe December, it's a gut punch. There's no other way around it.
And I'm not breaking news here, but I'll say I'm on a couple threads that Jalen knows people on those threads. And I've heard, don't speak about weeks, we're speaking about months. And that's when it hit me, that phrase that I saw in that text. We're not talking weeks, we're talking months. That got me, and that's why I'm thinking that December returns is probably more realistic.
Man, it is such a bummer. Like, I can't, I'm not saying anything that every Dolphin fan isn't feeling, but what a bummer. I mean, we were literally just talking about, if you remember the first day of camp, McDaniel was asked, what's it like are you excited to see Ramsey and X go up against Waddle and Cheetah? And he said, yeah, look at the money that they're getting. And then all of a sudden you're 1 day later and he's going to be gone for most of the season. It sucks.
Yeah. It does.
It really
and that
sucks.
Was with the Nick Chubb edition was great. we were excited about that edge rusher, adding him to Phillips and Agba and all those guys we talked about yesterday, Christian Wilkins. The biggest addition this offseason now is not here until December. That's the gut punch.